Today on the spot, 2K drops by with a look at MLB 2K10. We get our weekly dose of what's new this week on PC and Wii Shop channel. Football fans tune in for a look at Backbreaker, the new football title from Natural Motion. Ricardo Torres goes on location and gets an in-depth look at God of War 3. And we give away Evan Longoria. Today on the spot.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Today on the Spot. I'm Brian Eckberg, this is Sean McInnes, and we're going to do a little gloating before we get to the rest of the show. We've got a lot of sports on today's show, and speaking of sports, America, we won the Olympics. Congratulations to us.
Congratulations to us, and as it turns out, all the gold medals that those other countries got were actually chocolate.
That's right, and we may as well just confiscate those because we deserve them too.
We deserve to eat them and celebrate because we won the Olympics.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got a lot of sports on today's show. I want to let you guys know that, and we have some sports-related giveaways that we'll give away at the end of the show. We got some MLB 2K10 t-shirts and some fat heads. Maybe you've seen fat heads before. You have them all over your wall.
What are you calling me?
No,
right
not
now,
your head is actually quite small for your body. It's probably a little too small.
A little small.
But fat heads are stuff that you stick on the wall.
Oh yeah, the clingy posters. You can move them.
Exactly. Got a couple of those, and it's all to do with MLB 2K10, which we'll have on the show later. We'll get to all of that, but first let's hear from the news guys, find out what's going on in the industry.
Hey everybody, it's your GameSpot news update for Tuesday, March 2nd. I'm Tor Thorson. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, that means you've survived the apocalypse. Yes, starting Sunday night, owners of non-slim PlayStation 3s made before 2009, aka the PS3 Fat, found they could not play games worldwide. When a game disc was inserted into the PS3, a screen would pop up, helpfully tell the player that it could not obtain or create trophy data, and then force quit the game. This happened for every game we tried here at GameSpot HQ, from Heavy Rain to Tekken 6 to preview builds of major upcoming titles. Given gamers' rational and level-headed nature, the reaction was calm and measured. Just kidding, everybody panicked, even when Sony told them a fix would arrive in less than 24 hours. It probably didn't help that Sony also warned PS3 Fat owners that they'd risk losing trophies if they even turned on their consoles before the official all-clear. Luckily, that all-clear came around 6 p.m. on Monday night when Sony announced that the global PlayStation Network crisis had ended. The solution? Sony tweaked some PSN clock settings, which had caused older PS3s to think it was a leap year and thereby shorted out the entire trophy system. And lo, all was good in the world again. And now you can tell your grandkids you survived the apocalypse. Well, that's it, your GameSpot news update for Tuesday, March 2nd. For more headlines, head on over to news.gamespot.com.
All right, there you go. There's the news. Now it's time for new releases. And Sean, you know that this is a big week for you because the baseball games are coming out this week.
God, I'm a diehard baseball fan. By my math, I spend about 3/4 of my day at work reading baseball blogs.
Really?
Yeah. I probably shouldn't have told you that because you're technically my peer. But anyways, I'm a big fan of baseball. I'm really psyched for the games this year. They look pretty good.
They look pretty good. MLB 2K10, we're going to be seeing a demo of that a little bit later in the show. Let's say it's improved this year. I'll say it can't be worse than last year.
Oh God, that would be tough.
Yeah, and again, we have that giveaway for MLB 2K10 stuff. MLB 10, the show is coming, big game. But that's not all the new releases, so let's find out all the new releases right now.
The early 2010 parade of high-profile games continues without a pause this week, as Electronic Arts' anticipated Battlefield Bad Company 2 leads a solid lineup of new releases. A direct sequel to last year's console-exclusive game, Bad Company 2 picks back up with the derelict B Company, which comprises a fictitious U.S. military's expendable misfits and outcasts. Destructible environments, which were a core component of the original game, will again play front and center in Bad Company 2, thanks to further revisions to its proprietary Frostbite game engine. EA is also placing a new emphasis on vehicular combat, with 15 different rides from which to choose. The week will also see the return of baseball, as Major League Baseball spring training games kick off, and this season's new baseball efforts from 2K Sports and Sony hit store shelves. Sony's MLB 10, the show, will be hitting the electronic giant's PlayStation family of systems, while 2K Sports' MLB 2K10 will appear on all major consoles and handhelds, as well as the PC. PC gamers more interested in strategy than sports will be able to check out Supreme Commander 2. Picking up 25 years after the events depicted in 2007's highly acclaimed PC original, Supreme Commander 2 lets players assume command of 3 separate factions, each with its own special and experimental war-waging units. The game's single-player campaign features more than 18 missions, while multiplayer accommodates play for up to 8. Rounding out the biggest of the new releases is the freshly dated Mega Man 10 for the Wii. The latest retro-style downloadable adventure for the Blue Bomber will feature the usual gauntlet of robotic villains, as well as a new Easy mode, and the ability to play as Mega Man or Proto Man from the outset. Mega Man 10 is also set to hit the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 this month, though Capcom hasn't confirmed exactly when. For further details on the week's games, visit GameSpot's new releases page. Release dates are based on retailer listings and are subject to change.
And that's what's going on this week in the world of new releases, but if the only currency you have in your wallet is Wii points, you're in luck. It's this week on the Wii Shop channel.
This week on Wii Shop channel. On WiiWare, the Blue Bomber returns in Mega Man 10. The series maintains the same punishingly difficult 8-bit platformer gameplay it's always had, though there's now a new Easy mode that gives newcomers a chance at actually finishing the game. There's also challenge modes like Time Attack, and Proto Man is a playable character from the start. Mega Man 10 is available for 1,000 Wii points. Prefer to sit back and throw some darts? Then get ready for the most accurate game of darts on the Wii in Dart Rage. With pixel-perfect accuracy and no buttons to push, Dart Rage will make you feel like you're throwing real darts. Just don't actually throw your Wiimote at the TV. Dart Rage supports up to 4 players, features 4 game types, and is available for 600 Wii points. Do you hate moles? Of course you do. So grab your hammer and start swinging away at these little creatures and happy hammering. Use the Wiimote like a hammer as you smack your way through the game's 4 stages and 3 game modes. Happy Hammering supports up to 4 players and is available for 500 Wii points. Out this week on Virtual Console is the Neo Geo Classic Fatal Fury Special. This game features 15 fighters, with characters from Fatal Fury 1 and 2, as well as 4 new characters. It builds on the mechanics of the previous game with special moves and powerful finishers. Fatal Fury Special supports single or 2-player fights and is available for 900 Wii points. Moving on to DSiWare, don't miss the minigame collection Globulos Party. There's 20 different games like football, snooker, hockey, bomber, and more. You'll have hours of single-player gameplay as well as plenty of multiplayer with 3 modes that support 2 players. Globulos Party is available for 500 DSi points. And finally, sports fans can check out VT Tennis. Work your way to the top of the Tennis World Championship using stylus and touchscreen controls. VT Tennis features 17 courts, 4 surface types, and is available for 500 DSi points. That's it for this week. Check back every Tuesday as we bring you the latest this week on Wii Shop channel.
Well, there's your look at what's happening on the Wii Shop channel this week. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the guys from 2K Sports were here in this very studio, sat down with me to check out MLB 2K10 and talk about everything that's happening with that baseball title. So let's go to our first daily demo. It's MLB 2K10. Hey everyone, it's time for your daily demo. Today we're taking a look at MLB 2K10. I've got Sean Bailey and John Rivera here from 2K Sports. Guys, thanks for being here. Appreciate that.
Glad to be here.
I want to start with MLB 2K9. I know you guys had a lot of criticism on that game. So when you were taking a look at MLB 2K10, what were the overarching goals for this year's game?
The first goal, first and foremost, is to have a smooth playing simulation. You know, that's the goal. Now, how we get there, we had a lot of challenges and trying to balance the twitch with the sim side. And I feel like we did that, but that was the ultimate goal.
And John, I know that the pitcher-batter duel was a big part of the gameplay today. Can you tell me about what's gone into that in terms of gameplay this year?
Sure. So, one of the things that we wanted to emphasize was the play to the plate. So we added 3 new swings. So now you can control whether you're going to do a contact swing, a power swing, or a defensive swing, which is used, where you have 2 strikes and you sort of just trying to fight off a pitch and see another pitch. But what we really wanted to do was to make each player feel differently, so that if you're with a power hitter, you're trying to hit home runs. If you're with a contact hitter like Ichiro, you're swinging you're swinging for contact.
A lot of work went into batting, of course, as you say, but we're also looking at pitching right now. Sean, what can you tell us about pitching that's different this year?
So pitching, from the start, it's still gesture-based. You select your pitch first so you don't accidentally throw a different type of pitch. Some people were off by 30 degrees on their curveball. It may have been a slider last year. Right. So we didn't want you to find that problem ever again. So you start out, you select your pitch, and then the control rating will drive the size of those gesture cones, or your targets for your gesture. So it's very deterministic. You'll notice on the slider, if you go too far on the movement, that's overthrowing, and the slider's further outside if you're aiming outside. If you stop short, it's bringing it closer to the center of the plate. So making sure that you have full control. Now maybe you're not always successful, but at least when you screw up, it's a consistent way of screwing up.
Finally, we're at bat here. One of the things, you might have touched on it, John, but the lower camera angle adds a lot to the experiences here. Why move the camera?
So we move the camera down so that you can see the strike zone better. As we talked about before, it's all about the play at the plate, the battle at the plate, and it's all about taking pitches and sort of working the count. We give you a lot of information on screen as to each batter's batting average on a specific count. So if you're ahead in the count or behind in the count, so we're sort of emphasizing the count and the battle at the plate. So we want to make sure that we give you the tools to do that, and part of that was changing the camera so that with this new camera angle you can clearly see balls and strikes, and you can make that decision on the fly whether you're going to swing or not.
So Sean, we've talked about pitching, we've talked about batting. What about fielding? What's new with that?
Fielding, last year, a lot of the feedback we got was that it just wasn't quite as responsive. It felt okay, but a lot of people just couldn't put their thumb on it. And when we realized that it was just milliseconds away from where you want it to be, we're allowing you to queue up or preload a throw this year. In other words, you can start your meter whenever you want. The ground ball hasn't got to you yet, start your meter, and in one fluid animation, he's making the catch and the throw at once. So that's a lot more responsive. If you make a diving catch and you hit B or right stick to the right to throw to first, instead of waiting for him to finish the catch and play the entire get up and then start a throw with a meter, if you start your throw in the middle of the dive, before the dive, right after he dives, what he's going to do is simply just make a throw from that dive position. He's on the ground. And depending on the ratings, depends on how that goes from there. But making it a lot more responsive and being able to make a play from any position on the field was a big change. And then obviously all the bugs. We before we got started on all this cool new stuff with queuing up throws, we had to kind of slow down and say, okay, let's regroup and just knock out every single bug that drove anyone crazy or that would never happen in a baseball game in the field. The fly balls landing or the foot coming off first, those are things that are taking away outs that you should have earned. And there's nothing more frustrating in baseball than saying there should be 2 outs, but there's 1. Fixing the bugs and then creating a very responsive, good-looking experience is something that we really did well in MLB 2K10.
And there's new stuff to talk about, including My Player Mode. What is that?
So My Player Mode is our version of like a career where you can start a player in any position and sort of work your way up to the major leagues. You start in the minor leagues. If you're a pitcher, you can pick your organization, or you can randomly select an organization, and then we throw you into a minor league game, and then you work your way up to the major leagues, and then eventually, once you get called up to the major leagues, your goal is to make the Hall of Fame. And throughout your career, throughout your My Player, we are always very direct with what your goals are. We give you a lot of different goals, whether it's pitch to pitch. We say get a first pitch strike, or get a hit in the hitter for a pitcher. For a hitter, we might have some goals like move the runner along. So we give you a lot of goals, pitch to pitch, inning to inning, and season by season. So it's always very direct what you need to accomplish to get called up to the major leagues, and then once you get called up, we're very direct on what you need to do to make the Hall of Fame.
Okay, so My Player isn't the only new feature in MLB 2K10. There's new franchise stuff, new Super Sim stuff, and you guys are giving away $1 million. How do I get in on this? How do I get $1 million?
Well, first of all, you're going to have to get some command and control on the mound.
You've seen my skills.
You're going to have to. Yeah, you were doing pretty good as Zambrano.
Right.
But since this works through MLB Today, you can't just throw Zambrano against any team you want. You're going to have to work with whatever the lineup and the rotation is in real life that day. So it's a challenge, but hey, Burley in Chicago.
That's right. It's happened before.
He made it happen.
You pitch a perfect game, and you have a chance of winning $1 million. It's got to be verified, online game, all that good stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. There's a website that has all the rules, and you follow all those rules, and everybody's eligible unless you work for the company.
That's right.
I'm not eligible.
If only.
If only. So
you already make millions of dollars anyway, right?
Exactly.
All right. Final question, guys. Sean, when is this game coming out?
It's game's coming out March 2nd. Easy to remember, 3210, your first opportunity at your countdown to be a millionaire.
All right.
Play a very exciting, fun baseball sim.
Absolutely. MLB 2K10 coming on March 2nd. There's your daily demo for the day. Now back to the rest of the show. There you go. There's your look at MLB 2K10. It's time for This Week on PC, but before we get to the segment, Sean, let's talk about the man behind This Week on PC, Marco Martinez.
Exactly. He's not really a guy that people see a whole lot on the site. He's sort of behind the scenes. He runs the downloads blog. He's in charge of the files on the site, so all the screens and everything that you see on there. Marco's in charge of that. He's done a lot as well. A couple weeks ago, he murdered a bear with his hands.
Yeah, and when he murdered that bear, he actually fended off a bear assault of his hometown of Truckee, California.
Exactly. He pushed them back into Nevada where they belong.
Exactly.
No bears in California.
Exactly. So this is the man we're talking about, a man of import, a man of strength, a man of intelligence, and he's going to bring you This Week on PC.
This week on PC, we have a demo for Pax Britannica, a multiplayer RTS, Indie Spotlight on Time Still, a time-warping platformer, and your patches of the week. Pax Britannica is a multiplayer RTS game where you take control of a large battleship on an underwater battlefield. Your only control is one button that deploys 3 types of units that are within your ship. The unit that is chosen to be played is decided by the amount of time you press and release your button. The game starts you off playing enemy AI, but your opponent feels unbalanced, creating short matches. Pax Britannica is in its early builds, but will update you when a more stable build is available. Time Still is a platformer where you can pause time to accomplish each objective. The game involves a short tutorial, visual customization, and audio settings. The art direction is retro with its 8-bit coloring and pixelized visuals. As you move within each level, your surroundings react to your actions, helping you or hindering your goal. Time Still is challenging, fun, and now available at the GameSpot downloads page. Now for your patches of the week. Borderlands has released patch version 1.30 that includes balance adjustments, game crash fixes, and more. Mass Effect 2 has released patch version 1.01 that includes a video hitching fix, game crash fixes, and more. Sacred 2 Fallen Angel has released patch version 2.65.2.0 that fixes an issue that caused the game to automatically focus on a new incoming message. Tropico 3 has released version 1.13, a Direct to Drive patch that includes fixes causing gameplay freezing and more. The Sims 3 has released patch version 1.9.22 that includes gameplay fixes, crash fixes, and more. Please read the README files that come along with all of these patches. I'm Marco Martinez, and that's it for This Week on PC.
All right, there you go. There's your look at This Week on PC with Marco Martinez, a man whose biceps are bilingual, even though he isn't. Now it's time for an interview with Rob Donald of Natural Motion. They're the guys behind the football game known as Backbreaker.
Play football on a whole new level. Play football on the field.
I'm Rob Donald. I'm the associate producer on Backbreaker for Natural Motion. Basically, we're trying to sort of reinvent sports video games here. This is the first game that's going to come across as truly live, interactive sports game. This is through Euphoria, which is our own animation engine. This is the first time it's being used in a sports video game. To start with, I guess the thing to explain about Euphoria is that it doesn't involve any canned tackles, any canned animation. Obviously, this is something new. The way it works is to provide the characters in the game with behaviors. For example, we can program a tackle behavior into a character. What this means is that any time that they have to tackle a ball carrier, they actually just go about it in a way that is totally unscripted. They just have a command to actually bring that ball carrier down, no matter how they can go about doing it. Now, this could be a really powerful barge tackle, a wrap tackle that will just bring them down on the spot, or it could be a desperation tap tackle as they're about to head into the end zone. It really just depends on that moment in the game, and that's bringing these kind of unique moments in. One thing with Euphoria is obviously without the canned animation, it leads into interesting scenarios where we have to kind of bring the real football rules into the game, such as like face mask penalties. We have to actually program the guys on the field not to do this. You know, we give them the initial instruction to bring their man down no matter what, but then we have to kind of tone them down a bit. So we actually have to program the AI to specifically not infringe on the rules and sort of get the penalties against them. What we've tried to do is really make it a simple experience for people to pick up and play. So we've mapped as much as possible onto the right analog stick. All of these controls will be used in context, so if you're running, you can juke left and right just by flicking the stick left and right. You can perform spin moves just by spinning the stick. Similarly, we can bring in modifiers using the triggers. The one modifier that we do have is we're using the right trigger, which takes the ball carrier into aggressive mode. That gives you access to all of your power moves, so your stiff arms, your trucking moves. All of that is done again using Euphoria, so you actually genuinely barge through the line and you genuinely hit people in the face as you're trying to run past them. Defense is all about individual athletes making big plays as part of a team, and that's really something that we're trying to focus on with defense. So we still keep the same camera, it's down on the field, it's over the shoulder, it's that third person perspective, it's intense, you follow the guy in, you make the tackles. We're not compromising on that at all by pulling you back with the camera and giving you the sort of full view of the field. But the important thing with defense is obviously to keep the camera controls tight and keep the intelligence of like player switching. And what we do then is, instead of switching to the nearest player, which would be the simplest thing to do, but often that could be the thing that causes the most difficulty. You don't want to switch to a player who is, sure, he's the nearest player, but he's just been like pancaked and he's now lying on the face down on the ground. You don't want to switch to that guy. So what we do, we have a very complex system that works instantly in the back end, a massive spreadsheet of data that calculates the ideal person to switch to. And sometimes it will switch you to the player that you wouldn't necessarily expect it to, but it will be the best player to actually put the ball carrier down and reduce the number of yards that they're making on that any given play. So road to backbreaker is kind of the meat of the game, and we think that, we think people will kind of they'll whet their appetite with a bit of tackle alley and a bit of the exhibition mode. Once they get into it, we think road to backbreaker is really the mode that they'll spend most of their time in. What we've done here is introduce kind of almost like a European slant to the game. Rather than just having a recurring 8 or 16 or 32 team league, we start you out with this custom team that you make in an 8-team league, and we work on a system of promotion and relegation. If you're in the 8-team league, there's nowhere to go. You can't go down, so you're safe, but you always want to aim higher, and if you finish in the top 3 of any given league, you'll be promoted into the league above. But this is all about progression. So once you finish and get promoted up from the 8-team into the 16-team league, you can then, again, you'll be scouting players throughout the team, so you can draft new players in, and buy free agents, and really you have to kind of raise your game, not only the way that you play it and your skills, but you've got to raise the game of the team that you have, your personal team as well. So you want to buy players, you want to fill holes in the roster, because you know that when you go up a division, the players in that division are going to be a lot tougher than the guys that you faced in the 18 league, certainly. Online's obviously important to us. Sport is all about competition by its very nature. So throughout the game, the multiple online modes. We start off in, like, say, Tackle Alley. You can play online, and this is online multiplayer. We've also really think we're bringing back split screen gaming as well. We're really excited about that. The camera view that we have really lends itself to split screen gaming, and this is co-op and against your friends as well. So one person can play the quarterback, another person can play wide receiver, and they see it from the perspective of the player that they've chosen to play. And Backbreaker is out on Xbox 360, PS3, and it's out on May 18th.
All right, so we've seen a bunch of really big games so far in 2010, but one of the biggest of the year is coming out really soon, Brian. It's God of War 3. It's right around the corner. Are you excited for this one?
Can't wait to play the boss fight against Marco Martinez.
He is that big of a legend in the world of video games that they actually put him as a cameo as an Olympic god.
Exactly.
It's kind of frightening, actually. One of the guys in the office who's really excited about that game is Ricardo Torres. He actually went down to Sony Santa Monica last week to shoot a whole bunch of interviews. Here's one of those interviews. The rest you can find on the site. Let's have a look.
Is my calling. Vengeance my creed. I will wash away the past with the blood of Olympus.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo, and I am here at Sony's God of War event in Los Angeles with Todd Pepe, design director on the game. So Todd, we've been playing a little bit of the game. You're in charge of making all the levels we just ran through and whatnot. How do you design moving levels? Because we're currently scurrying around Linda Hunt in the area that we were playing.
It's a pain. I mean, basically when we're designing stuff, we're dealing with T-poses, so straight arm, and then from there we get an animation and start adjusting it and seeing how things move around. And when you're running down our arm, making sure that, okay, we want him running the whole time. We don't want him transitioning to wall climb or anything like that. So dealing with animators and saying, hey, adjust it this way, adjust it this way. And for us, it basically extended our iteration process, and it was a little bit of a pain, but I think we came up with a great product.
Now, tell us about how you guys kind of played with the God of War formula, because we kind of know how God of War games should feel.
Right.
And, you know, 3 definitely feels like that, but there's a bunch of new stuff, like the moving levels and all that stuff.
So the moving levels, and then we've got basically three new weapons besides the blades, and we did even adjustments on the blades. So on the demo, you saw the combat grapple and some of the new stuff that we added with the blades, and then there's also the new magics, and then items that deal with level scenarios, but at the same time can be incorporated into combat. And then just slight adjustments on his navigation system and how that stuff works, and opened up a lot more of his nav system. Before, it used to be very canned and you can only jump from here to here, and so open that up, and then also the Titans.
Now, how did you balance out tweaking with, you know, the formula that sold millions of games? Are you guys a little nervous about breaking anything?
Not too nervous about breaking stuff. Because we play test it so much, so we see what works and what doesn't work, and then adjust it to our liking, and then play test it again, and then play test it again and again and again. So.
Now, how much of the designing stuff that you did in God of War 3 was inspired by things that you guys wanted to do in the first 2 games and weren't able to for one reason or another?
A fair amount. So, you know, kind of with the Titans, we were able to do them live this time versus them being set pieces in the background on 1 and 2, and kind of like either busts or just the far shots of them crawling in. So being able to do the Titans, and then there were obviously characters like the Chimera we had it drawn and actually modeled for God of War 2, but basically ran out of time. So
now, obviously, you've been working on the game for about 3 years, so that's a while, and I'm sure after about the 1.5 year mark, it kind of feels like work. But can you tell us about some of the really fun aspects that kind of kept you coming back? What was like your happiest memory from making this game?
Well, when we design a lot of stuff, the way it looks and the way we see it as designers, it basically looks like Legos. You know, we put together and we have our metrics on the wall, and you see it looks like a big grid. And then getting it back from art and seeing those moments of this is what they did to our design, and seeing the concept pieces, and just being able to walk around and see what people work on, and it's amazing. You know, we do walkabouts, and so people get inspired and can see the new stuff that's happening, and basically go back to their desk and say, well, I'm not going to get outdone by so and so I'm going to do this even better, kind of thing. It's a healthy competition.
Now, was there any pressure in working on this game? Because by all accounts, it was already pitched early on as this is going to be wrapping up the trilogy. So, were you worried you might screw anything up?
Well, it's more about making sure that we pay homage to 1 and 2, and both of those are such great games. And so making sure that this one, you know, lives up to the expectations of those, and then making sure the fans are happy. I mean, you never want to be known as the ones that screwed up God of War.
Thank you very much, Todd. Game's looking great. We're going to find out whether or not you guys screwed it up on the 16th of March when it comes out. So be sure and check the site for a review. But until then, we're going to have a few more God of War related surprises in the days leading up to launch.
All right, there you go. There's your God of War 3 interview. And like Sean said at the top, if you want to see more of these interviews, check them out at GameSpot.com. And we've got a ton of God of War 3 coverage coming very soon. It's time for trivia, but let's go over the prizes once more. We have 2 MLB 2K10 t-shirts, which are pretty cool. I've got one of these. It's very snug. And we also have these fat heads. that these are Evan Longoria. That's the cover guy, and you can stick a big old thing of Evan Longoria up on your wall. These are available for like pre-order too. If I think if you pre-order the game, you get these fat heads. But hey, we're giving 2 away, Sean.
Free. You can't beat free.
You can't beat free. But you're gonna have to work for this one because I asked for. You're our resident baseball guy.
That's true.
And I asked for like a full-on sabermetric question. So what do you got for us?
I have a pretty esoteric stats question for the guys. So here's a question I have for you. Are you ready? You might want to have the internet fired up for this, even though I guess you already do, because you're watching this on GameSpot.com. The question I've got for you is, according to the wins above replacement statistic, what was Evan Longoria's dollar value in 2009? Not his salary, his dollar value, according to wins above replacement. So if you think you know the answer, send us an email to onthespot@gamespot.com or use the green answer trivia module on the page right here.
Sean, I'm 90% sure that someone is going to get that question right.
It's an obscure question for sure, but like I said, when you spend as much of the workday reading baseball blogs as I do, you're bound to understand some of those stats. Speaking of incompetence, I might need you to help me out with a story I didn't get around to writing today.
Okay, well, it wouldn't be the first article I've ghostwritten for you on this site. Hey, we hope you guys enjoyed this show. We had a great time bringing it to you. Next week is GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. Sean and I and the rest of the GameSpot crew will be at the Moscone Center covering it top to bottom. It's going to be a fun week.
It's going to be fun. I mean, it's a really cool show. It's a whole bunch of game developers getting around, talking shop, talking really creative stuff. It's a little bit scary.
Yep.
I came this close to being trampled last year when I cut the emergency hot dog line.
Don't get in the way of a nerd in this hot dog.
I was so hungry, though.
Yeah, I know. We'll all be hungry. Hope you guys are hungry for GDC coverage because we're going to be bringing you live coverage, live shows, and a whole bunch of coverage, stories, interviews, all the stuff you can handle. For Sean McInnes, I'm Brian Nickberg. See you on Thursday for another episode of Today on the Spot.
And there you have it. That's what's going on in the world of new releases. But if you're only a Wii owner and you only want to know what's coming out on the Wii, you're in luck. It's this week on Wii. Let's try that again.
You're in luck.
Tune in Thursday for demos of Blue Toad Murder Files and This Week on Xbox Live.